right now on Higher Journeys with Alexis Brooks. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Well, by now, I am sure you have heard what we call in the UFO community a bombshell, breaking news, right? This past Monday, of course, the article that broke in the debrief, a very well-researched article by veteran writers, Leslie Kean and Ralph Blumenthal. This, of course, having to do with the latest whistleblower, a man, 36-year-old intelligence officer by the name of David Grush, who gave some very, very detailed reports about a decades-long program where, and I'm not looking at anything, I'm just recalling, there was so much information, intact or partially intact craft have been retrieved and stored, perhaps for decades, by what can only be called non-human origin, exotic craft, and likely operated by entities of non-human origin. Okay, I'll put a link to the article. By now, you've probably seen it. We're going to go into a lot more detail about this and probably take a different angle. You guys, this is kind of out of my wheelhouse. For those of you that watch Higher Journeys probably know that my entry point into this field and the conversation that I continue to have surrounds the more experiential aspect to this very, very large and very enigmatic phenomenon. So this story, and it was juicy for sure, and a bombshell. There are a lot of things in it mechanistically that I'll really have to take my time to understand what's happening here, although we've got the gist of what's going on. However, now I also want to preface by saying we were all out of contact in the desert when this news broke. It was Monday, and we were wrapping up a 3-day extraordinary conference. And, all of the esteemed researchers that I've had the pleasure of working with, including Richard Dolan and Linda Moulton Howe, who you're going to hear from shortly, were on site. So you can only imagine when this news broke on Monday, and I think some people had a little bit of an idea, a little bit of a heads up that it was coming. But indeed, when it did break, the whole Indian Wells Resort was abuzz and excitement all around, and it continues, and I think will for some time. But I want you to hear something from a comment that Linda Moulton Howe made, a very lengthy one and a very important one, as she sat in on Richard Dolan's last lecture on Monday, where he was able to fold in some of the details and some commentary about this breaking news story. Again, this aspect of the phenomenon, where I wouldn't say it's foreign to me, it's not really in my wheelhouse. It's not where I really put a lot of emphasis and done a lot of research, that being the government cover-up that many believe has persisted for decades. And of course, this story is a perfect case in point, the level of secrecy, et cetera. And of course, the whistleblower that has most recently come out with what seems to be a very, very credible account or set of accounts. But when I heard Linda make the comments that you're about to hear, I thought, bravo to you. Now, this is a woman who has been stellar in her research for probably about 4 decades, if not more, and really has her arms around more of the mechanistic intelligence aspects to all of this, the government aspects. But she is not afraid to go there when it comes to talking about the actual beings. Now, this headline is as close as we have ever gotten to an official or quasi-official report alluding to the fact that there are indeed, or we are indeed sharing space, perhaps here on Earth, perhaps walking on planet Earth with us at times, with what are referred to as non-human intelligence, or NHI, what we're now, or what they are now calling UAP, unidentified anomalous phenomena, is now, they are now including into this discussion, they being vis-a-vis David Grush, this part of the story. But what Linda has to say, again, and I can't wait, I had just seen Linda right before she went into that room and made those comments. We were saying our goodbyes, and I was heading back to the East Coast. But what I heard, and we had a short conversation about this, I'm going to keep part of it quiet for now, or confidential. But Linda really tied the threads of all of this together, the story being very important nonetheless, but in terms of letting the public know what is going on and what has been going on. You'll hear her say, we can't have partial truth. This is not the time for just partial truth. We also need to know, and we need you to admit to us, she feels, and many feel, what our governments have known, not only about crashed retrieval of crashed or landed craft, but also the beings themselves, the cattle mutilations of which she has gone into exhaustive research on for many, many years, and of course, the human abduction, the hybridization program et al. Let's go ahead and listen to what Linda has to say in this regard. And yeah, I think we're in for a wild ride. The next iteration of this big story. I also want to but let you know before we sign off and hear from Linda, is that I will be having 2 extraordinary researchers on where we'll really be able to get into a little bit more of this side of the conversation of what just happened. And that's Laura Eisenhower, as well as Brad Olson, who I was actually out at Contact in the Desert with. They were kind enough to really, really quickly put an interview in place for me. We haven't recorded it yet. It'll be airing next week, but we will be going down some rabbit holes as it relates to this story and what may be really going on from their perspective. So definitely stay tuned for that. All right, guys, let's hear from Linda, and I will talk to you real soon. Bye.
Now, in a country in which the vast majority of people, including myself, I do not trust the government of the United States. But the reason I don't trust is that they had so many opportunities to tell the truth that would have opened up many things that they think were impossible to open up, but they are opening up anyway. And that the headlines today are going to make the door easier for everyone in all facets to now start being interviewed. Wouldn't this be the perfect time to say, we apologize, United States. We have kept this secret in respect for you as humans in a government that is supposed to be on, by, and for the people. And we didn't think you could handle it. But if they go forward now with exactly what you guys were pointing to, if this degenerates into Arrow, you say here, NRO, you're going to take over, and everything in between is then going to be, you cannot talk unless you have permission. Because that's where this today feels like. This was a great beginning. But if they don't continue with honest opening up everything, Trappist, from what I understand, I've been told for years, we have been to the Trappist solar system. We know that Webb has evidence of artificial frequencies in planet E in the Trappist-1 system. Artificial frequencies is what we generate in cities at night on Earth. If they try to have their cake and eat it too, open up a little bit about the possibility of artificial light on Trappist, and they don't tell the whole story of how many solar systems we have been to with the help of the tall lights in the universe, we're going to be entering into a schizophrenic stage again of people who will be allowed to tell this truth, but God help you, me. Animal mutilations are a part of this. Human abductions are a part of this. Hybridization is a part of this. And I'm not trying to overtake the time here. And I
you're perfect. You're saying exactly, I completely agree with you.
Well, and if we don't get what seems to be honest, professional truth about what the government knows about hybridization, about animal mutilations, about the fact that all around this planet, some live agreements with the government, that there are non-humans who are based on this planet, who have been based on this planet for millions of years, throughout our solar system and many solar systems. In other words, is this going to be reality finally on the night?
Yeah,
or is it going to be a whole other Broadway production in which we are only going to be allowed to see this moving ball and this moving ball? because I love you guys, and I think that humanity deserves the whole truth.
Yeah.
Not these pieces that are selected because a government or governments, they're terrified that we are going to collapse on the sidewalk. It's crazy. We need truth.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to watch what's next, plus more to explore. And don't forget to subscribe to Higher Journeys.